Hello and welcome to Screenwipe. My name's Charlie Brooker. Oh, and it's a program all about television. I should have said that bit earlier. It doesn't matter. In real life, most of the time, not much is happening. 24 hours a day. Unless, of course, you work in counter-terrorism, in which case your day looks like this. Sorry, I mean this.
It's coming your way, Jack! Drop the weapon!
The last series of 24 ended with Jack literally aboard a slow boat to China. While he was in captivity, the Chinese treated him appallingly. Every day they punched him in the face at 9 AM, plunged his hands into boiling water at 11:15, and pulled his teeth out at 2:30. 2:30? Did you get 2:30? Oh, f*** off. Anyway, at the start of Series 6, Jack's back after months of incarceration and torture, which left him almost unrecognisable. Jesus Christ! I mean, literally, isn't that Jesus Christ? But this messianic interlude didn't last long. Within the hour, he'd shaved off his beard and recovered sufficiently to reenact some of his favourite scenes from Grand Theft Auto.
Don't get up!
Not to mention high-kicking a suicide bomber out the back of a train. Sadly, that turned out to be an innocent Brazilian plumber. Yes, 24 is now set in a paranoid future America in which the war on terror has firmly come home and everyone seems to spend all their time standing around horrified watching Fox News. It's all the fault of a spectacularly humorless terrorist called Fayed, who's presumably angry at the world because he looks like a bald Dean Gaffney. Guiding the country through this crisis is President Wayne Palmer, perhaps the least plausible commander-in-chief imaginable. I'm not saying the American public wouldn't vote for a black guy, but a black guy with a shaved head and a goatee? Come on. They'd sooner vote for an idiotic, masturbating drunk. A bit like they did last time. Instead, they've got President Bling, who's so slick he always looks like he's about to burst into an R. Kelly number.
Sir, you'd be releasing 110 extremely dangerous terrorists.
Karen, I am very well aware of that.
But I believe I can fly. The camera work is as restless as ever, rarely staying still for more than a nanosecond before flitting off to a light on something else. It's as though they asked the cameraman to replicate the twitching eye movements of a panicking murderer as he desperately searches for somewhere to hide the bloodied trowel. Sometimes it swings around so much even Jack gets motion sickness and has to grab hold of the scenery to stop his head spinning. Part of the fun of 24 has always been the way it unashamedly raises the stakes with each new series, although I think they might have slightly overdone themselves this time.
My fellow Americans, there is no easy way to say the words, America has been hit by a nuclear weapon.
But it's okay, because I believe I can fly. As ever, the plucky gang back at CTU are doing their level best to limit the carnage. There's Chloe, the sulky cartoon duckling who permanently wears the expression of someone opening a Tupperware box full of infected yeast. Then there's her ex-husband, Morris, who, well, he just looks a bit dirty to me. Not unhygienic, but like the sort of person who'd unexpectedly slide a thumb up your arse during sex. Yeah, I don't think she's into it, Morris.
Morris, we're at work. It's unprofessional.
They say you don't like him.
And there's the boss, Bill Buchanan. Not so much a man as an operating system on legs, he's only got two facial expressions, serious and a bit more serious. Although ironically, his own face looks like this. In fact, Bill's so tense and sombre, he often looks like he's trying to concentrate on keeping a 5p piece clenched between his bum cheeks, presumably for some sort of bet. Ask Morris, he'll fish it out for you with his teeth. CTU itself is just like any other office. The staff get on each other's tits all the time. In fact, it's a bit like The Office, complete with Stephen Merchant. Anyway, with all the death and horror, 24's starting to look more like a demented work of propaganda than a cheerily dumb action thriller. It tries to have its cake and eat it. On the one hand, they have lots of discussions about the civil rights of all these Muslims they're locking up, and on the other it crudely depicts a seemingly endless stream of Islamic maniacs hell-bent on destruction. Basically, it's just not as funny as it used to be.
The number of deaths and serious injuries would multiply into the hundreds of thousands.
And besides, they're going to have to invent something even scarier than a nuclear bomb if they want Season 7 to seem in any way exciting. I don't know, something like a genetically engineered race of hornets who swarm up your arse and sting you to death from within. Well, that or maybe just a clown with a massive erection.
It's only February and already this year's seen epoch-shattering landmarks shattering epochs of broadcasting like there's no tomorrow. Let's take a look back. 7th of January and a heart-stopping episode of Ultimately Random Guessing Game Deal or No Deal saw the £250,000 jackpot hanging in the balance. As the banker rang with his final offer, the tension grew so unbearable the contestant's face started flashing and Noel gave a black power salute out of sheer confusion. As Noel readied himself to ask the golden question, everyone in the studio looked sick with nerves. Except for him, he just looked gormless.
Deal or no deal?
No deal.
I think you are one heck of a gutsy lady.
Oh, come on, she's not that fat. Fortunately, when Noel approached her box for the all-important money shot, the cash was there and joy was unconfined. The other contestants were delighted, even though her victory meant they were statistically less likely to hit the jackpot themselves, the silly, celebrating fools. 15th of January, and Anglia Television's local news programme was briefly rendered 50 times more interesting than usual when a mix-up left the newsreader unaware she was being broadcast live for several minutes. This is the news.
Is this your wife or, Jan?
Man's wife in Jan confusion.
Yes, you're always talking to her.
He's always talking to her, claims a spokeswoman. And I think we can go over live now to the scene of the Jan where our special correspondent is... Oh no, actually, tell you what, we'll just rustle around under the desk and open a bottle of water. After several minutes of hair and tit adjustment, normality, and therefore boredom, was resumed.
Good morning, welcome to Anglia News.
January 28th and white-knuckle motor porn gang show Top Gear thrilled the nation with the long-awaited broadcast of Richard Hammond's high-speed tribute to Mark Bolan. In the accident, Hammond lost both ears and most of the skin Oh no, hang on, wait a minute, that's before the crash. The smash-up itself was eerily reminiscent of the opening titles of The $6 Million Man. Fortunately, the nation's favourite hamster is now completely recovered, although he does have a faint look in his eyes like he's gazed into the darkness of eternity and learned that not only is there no God, there definitely is a Jeremy Clarkson. It's a sorry fact that some forms of artistic expression are seen as inherently better than others. Take ballet, which is essentially just a slow-motion toffee-nosed jig for aristocrats. Or quality fiction, 90% of which is pseudo-intellectual masturbation for people who want to look clever on the tube. Of course, perceptions change. For instance, television was long seen as little more than an animated dustbin until fairly recently, when shows like The Sopranos are taken seriously by many critics as a work of searing intellectual genius.
Oh, look at the way he's lifting that cup. This is a work of searing intellectual genius.
Still, if there's one cultural artefact that don't get enough respect, it's the video game. Yeah, it's okay for film buffs to chunter away about that bit of camera work or this evocation of the mise-en-scene, or for food buffs to detail their year-long quest for the perfect balsamic vinegar. But anyone who discusses video games in any detail whatsoever is automatically branded a sad, spotty, nerdo-geek virgin with the cultural sensibilities of a spoon. Here we see the Newsnight review team failing to have fun with the fun Nintendo Wii.
I hate computing. I've never played computer games before, and hopefully we'll never play them again.
I found it boring. In the end, a book seems more about the imagination than this.
What, even this book? Anyway, games are better than telly, and here's why. OK, most obvious point first, watching TV is a passive activity. Most of the time you just leave Mr. Brain in his off setting. Games keep you active, and I'm not just talking about exercising your thumbs in an ultra-violent kill fest. 5 minutes of Tetris almost certainly taxes your brain more than, say, 5 hours of Mastermind. Within my lifetime, games have evolved at a dizzying pace. As a child, I used to look forward to trips to the local swimming pool. Nothing to do with the swimming, it's just that the pool was overseen by a small gallery area containing several arcade machines. By today's standards, they were absurdly primitive, of course, hulking great monoliths farting out atonal bleeps. Those monochrome blobs represented everything from a terrifying fight for survival in an asteroid field to a sort of Irwin Welsh-style urban nightmare in which a jaundiced figure scurries around frantically guzzling pills while pursued by spectres within a nightmarish urban maze from which there is no escape. Later, games came home. Suddenly, you could play them on your own TV, which was outrageously exciting, as this demonstration by Leslie Judd clearly demonstrates.
Leslie there, entering the peculiarly male world of mindless games.
Today's mindless games are far more advanced, yet continue to evolve in
countless directions at once.
Case in point, the aforementioned Nintendo Wii, with which the humble joystick has evolved into an extension of the human arm.
My favourite game on the Wii is this one, where you just repeatedly poke Vernon Kay in the eye.
Or look at this on the PC, a bunch of players amusing themselves online in a custom-made Faulty Towers map for the multiplayer deathmatch epic Counter-Strike. What's that? Not as funny as Faulty Towers, I hear you say. Well, of course it isn't. It's not supposed to be.
People always have a go at video games in that way, saying things like, oh, no video game is ever going to be so moving, it will make the player cry. Well, so what? That's not its purpose. That's like arguing that ballet isn't a valid art form because it doesn't make people fart. It's not trying to, you stupid thixicle.
OK, so the cutscenes are almost always laughably bad, but that's part of their charm, if you ask me. Take Resident Evil. The game was superb, but the cutscenes were like a soap opera on heavy skunk.
Captain Wesker, where's Chris?
Stop it! Don't open that door!
But never mind the acting, the video game's main objective is to tax your problem-solving skills or just excite you like a thriller, and they do this better than anything on TV.
You know, I actually had to stop playing this game once because I was genuinely getting post-traumatic stress disorder. That's an achievement of sorts.
Yes, video games are going through a renaissance, and you shouldn't miss out, like you are now, by choosing to watch TV instead, like some kind of medieval throwback farmhand it takes ages to get anywhere like this. Am I out of frame yet? Thank for that. Now here's Rab and Ryan from online video games show Consolevania and BBC Scotland's Video Guidance.
Well, Microlive was a very dry educational show back then. I think we were about 8 or 9, must have been when it was on.
Aye.
I think the thing people remember most about Microlive was the opening titles where an owl kind of flew in. And kind of technological-minded people are always interested in owls, aren't they? I think it's because they've got the perfect neck for porn browsing on the internet, where you can be watching the latest Belladonna video and kind of checking behind you to see if your mother's walked in the room in one kind of smooth motion. I think that's the...
Who's Belladonna?
Look it up.
It's hard to tell who the audience was because they spent a fortune on it, but everything on it cost like £5,000.
This micro, for example, would set you back about £7,000 or £8,000.
Fred Harris was the presenter of Microlive, and he was a decent guy. He was just a nice guy. You don't see guys like that presenting shows on TV anymore. Everybody's a bastard on telly now.
Nice one, Rainbird.
You know, even with graphics as basic as they were back then, they were so awe-inspiring to the people that made Microlive.
But best of all are the graphics.
Only brothers in arms with dire straits could possibly convey the emotion that they were feeling. These days, you've got like 1,000 games coming out every week, right? But back then, it was 1,000 machines you had coming out every week. So they would have a guy on explaining what this new machine was, and it'd be literally as quick as he'd walk off the set, and one of the crew would turn them round and send them back on with another machine, and he'd explain how it's been upgraded. And in that, like 3 seconds since he was last there.
It's got 512k of RAM, it's got 512k of ROM, so we're getting close to 1.5 meg altogether. That's really quite a lot.
Because it was an old technology show, everything is measured by telephone books. It's like they have a new disc on it and they say, on this disc you can get 33 pages of a telephone book on it. Because it's the only measurement that people understand, and they go, there's a new disc and you can get like 2 gigabytes on it.
There's something this size and you can get 1,000 phone numbers on it.
Aye.
One day, we may be able to store enough information to fill 10,000 phone books.
Database was ITV's kind of response to Microlive, and it was a lot more entertainment-based, but they hired psychopaths to present it, didn't they? Tony Bastable was the main presenter, which is just... I mean, that's like a name that somebody's written, a name that somebody's created.
He's an absolute nutcase.
Tony Bastable was worried about technology falling into the wrong hands.
Yeah, this was his whole angle, that it wasn't a plaything and anything, this was serious business, and it was a weapon, really, wasn't it?
It was a weapon.
So for £2, I have bought the central processing chip off the shelf for the Sinclair computer. For all this nice lady and gentleman know, I could be a Russian spy exporting that bit of hardware to do something devious with it.
Something interesting about databases, they would broadcast software at the end of the show. So instead of like end credit music, they would broadcast software. So it would be like the audio beep beep stuff that Spectrum's used.
Now start your recorders for the software transmission, and until next week, goodbye.
So what you actually got was the most surreal 30 seconds in television where human beings would stand in a darkened studio while these machines kind of whined and screamed. It was as if they were warning people of the way TV was going to be in 20 years' time.
Now here's a cartoon from internet animator David Firth of fatpie.com.
Welcome back. Our 6 shit guests have pre-written jokes, so the real skill here is who can read them out the best.
That's a good link from our Linford Christie joke.
Choice time. Should our panellists tell a tedious, drawn-out story about a misunderstanding between 2 celebrities? Press the turquoise button for that. Or should he be cutting edge and tell an ironically racist joke that's not really racist, but still manages to offend a few people?
Has anyone pressed any of those blasted buttons yet?
No, because there's a video on the internet of a man and he's talking about his knees. Everyone seems to be watching that.
Realism. That's what people want. Unedited videos, people talking slowly, lip-syncing to pop songs.
All right, chaps, carry on exactly what you're doing, but it's going out live now. It's not edited.
John Bon Jovi was in the news this week. Quippity quip quip cue card quip.
Yeah, it's fucking funny, isn't it? Oh, you, greasy hair, tell a Bon Jovi joke. But I haven't prepared. Oh, fuck's sake. Oh, Bob, go on internet, get him a Bon Jovi joke. They should call him Gone Bon Jovi now. Ha ha.
Come on, everybody, start laughing.
We won't laugh at that, producer.
Well, I'll just do several laughs and then my editors can cut them all together and it'll sound like a whole audience.
But I thought this was going out unedited.
Oh, bollocks, who cares? No one's watching.
Like any form of mass entertainment, TV is ultimately all about getting bums on seats. But whose bums? And where are the seats? Basically, what I'm asking is, what are ratings and how do they work? Ratings information in the UK is compiled by the Broadcasters Audience Research Board, BARB for short. Now, being a shambolic, unprofessional sort of programme, we haven't shot an interview with a BARB spokesman. But if we had, it might have looked something like this. How are television ratings measured in the UK?
Well, BARB has this panel of households, each of which has this little box that keeps a record of what shows they're watching.
Who chooses them?
BARB does a big survey into the makeup of about 52,000 households, then selects volunteers.
You say volunteers?
Yeah, you can't force people to have the box. It's not a police state.
Ah, so surely there's some kind of sample bias there. I mean, after all, the sort of person who doesn't want a box in their home, keeping tabs of everything they're watching, or simply couldn't be bothered, isn't going to be reflected in the ratings.
Well, yes, but it's still as representative as it can be.
How can they tell how many people in each household are actually there watching the telly?
They've also got a little remote unit, and whenever someone comes in the room, they press a button to register their presence.
Right.
Each person represents about 4,500 viewers.
So if one of them nips out of the room for a piss, then as far as BARB are concerned...
4,500 people took a piss at the same time.
Anyway, people nipping out for a piss notwithstanding, lots of other things can affect the ratings. Let's ask a shadowy TV insider. Hello, shadowy.
That's Mr. TV Insider to you.
Apart from the quality of a show, what else can affect the ratings?
The title for one thing, right? If you're looking for a quick ratings boost, a lurid title's going to stand out in the listings. Sad, but it works. It's a sort of cheap publicity, and publicity is the main one for ratings, really.
It's good for me to try new things, you know, spread my wings.
Take something like Ugly Betty, yeah? Heavy rotation of slick trailers highlighting what a life-affirming ugly duckling chuckle-fest it was going to be. Posters all over the shop, ads in all the magazines. You couldn't miss the bloody thing.
Right.
Did you watch it?
No, it was a Friday, I was out.
Oh, well, there you go. The slot's the next important thing, right? Take something like Nevermind the Buzzcocks, yeah? The cynical knockabout music quiz. That used to go out on a Monday, did all right. Then they moved it to Thursday, and boom, 4 million viewers, ratings gold.
What's so special about Thursdays?
God knows.
So, ratings are neither an exact science nor a measure of a programme's quality, but try telling that to people in telly, despite what they claim. They're obsessed with ratings! The moment the overnights are published, execs and commissioning editors get them beamed straight to their Blackberries, because to them, those magic numbers function in the same way that laughter, or lack of it, provides feedback to a stand-up comic. She wipes the tears off and she goes, "No, that's what my dad used to do to me." Oh, no. If the numbers are high, all is well in the world. Their show's a work of art and they are a broadcasting genius. But if the numbers are low, well, the universe itself has rejected them, and what on earth was a moron like that doing in the job in the first place?
And I say to him, no, it's a breed of dog, you stupid foreign idiot. Yeah, all right.
You're shit!
As a result, ratings failure becomes so ghastly, commissioning editors will do anything to avoid it. And before long, an insidious kind of self-censorship starts to creep in.
After all, they reason, if a show about dogs goes down badly, well, maybe the audience just doesn't get dogs.
This is a gross black and white simplification, of course, and there's lots of shades of grey in between, but at the end of the day, it's fair to say that TV is little more than a depressing scramble for numbers in a pit full of grime. Now here's titted geek Gia Milinovic looking at sort of video blog things. I don't know what they are.
Around 2003 is when video on the web really started to get going. Ze Frank has been online for years, and he's a performance artist and a digital artist and has been doing quite amazing things online. In March 2006, he started a daily video blog.
The theme in 2 years is going to be cute pictures of puppies.
He's using his video blog to kind of engage in a conversation with the visitors to his website. The thing that I love about Ze Frank is that he's actually funny in a way that very few Americans are.
Some people say to me, they say, Ze, you're doing all this stuff, this internet stuff, and you're not making any money. Why? And I say, Mom, Dad.
Rocket Boom is a daily geek news online program which is hugely, hugely popular.
I'm Amanda Congdon and I love hell. Luckily, today's episode is from hell, so we're all good. Time out.
I think it's shit. You can sit in front of your webcam and directly record onto YouTube your own video blog. And this ease of use on YouTube has caused this huge influx of what are called cam whores. Two of the more kind of popular cam whores are Emelina, and there's another one, and I'm sure her mother is just so glad that she chose this username. Her name is Filthy Whore. And really, they talk about absolutely bloody nothing.
The actual reason for me making these videos is just, I think it stems from my passion of documenting things. I just love it. I have little drawings that I've done and stories that I've wrote, and
Brooker's is the hugest success of YouTube. She did about 4 or 5 different videos, and then she made her big, huge, massive, popular one, which is called Crazed Numa Fan.
Hello, salute, sentier, Hajduk.
As of today, 4 million people have watched that clip. She's now 20 years old. She's got a proper contract with a proper company in LA. It's a brilliant success.
Begging's all well and good, but it's a bit old-fashioned, isn't it? I mean, how the hell are you supposed to swipe a credit card through a beggar? What's needed in 2007 is a modern, updated version of begging, and thankfully, ITV has just the thing. Fortune is a feel-good version of Dragon's Den, in which to get the panel's money, you don't need to be an inventor, just deserving of pity.
This is the Fortune 5.
Or committee, as I like to call them.
Jacqueline Gold, Chief Executive of multi-million-pound success story Ann Summers.
We really want to see somebody that is talking from the heart.
All right, so who better for that than...
Lord Archer.
No, she wanted someone talking from the heart.
And former Tory MP. Jeffrey's worth around 68 million. He's sold 125 million books.
Most of them to himself, by the look of it. Also on the panel, a super slick moneybags Duncan Bannatyne seen here, emerging from a toy plane. Just so you know, I'm out. That's what he says when he's finished having sex with a lady. Then there's Kanya King, crazy name, crazy guy. But the biggest fart stink in Coinville has to be this massive waddling chunk of frig. Simon Jordan, a massive f*** who looks like a young Gerard Depardieu with the haircut of a 9-year-old girl. He's the resident meanie, which is just as well because he radiates unlikability like a prick. The show's hosted by Richard Madeley in full-blown, blow-dried, unbuttoned seduction mode. I like Madeley, actually, when he's in this sort of mood. He looks a bit like he's just poured himself a scotch and sauntered into your hotel room.
Let's have another one.
Anyway, the format's simple enough. Wheel on a few members of the public and watch them beg for the money.
We're here to ask you for £45,000.
Throughout proceedings, Archer seems to be on a demented bid to re-cement his place in the public's affections by playing Mr. Nice.
14 and you've written a 72,000-word novel.
It's about a wizard with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and it's a bit out of the ordinary.
One should always start with an autobiography.
Yeah, Jeff, but from the sounds of it, he's not writing about himself.
He's completely incompetent, and as he follows his journey, he causes a lot of unrest in the society he lives in.
I've seen a preview copy of that book, you know, and I don't think Jeffrey's going to like it. Basically, there are 4 types of beggar on Fortune. First up, the worthies.
We teach people to cycle, and we're going to take part in the Special Olympics.
I'm a yes.
OK, well, it's a yes from me as well, then.
We've done it!
The worthier the cause, the bigger the applause. Actually, that should be the show's catchphrase. I think the worthies are Lord Archer's particular favourites because it gives him a chance to get all inspirational and deliver an earnest little speech with his face all screwed up like that, like he really means it.
I think that £200 to each pupil to show them how disastrous, evil and awful the First World War was, what terrible decisions our British generals made, is worth being studied by every school child in this country, and I back you 100%.
Actually, it'd be bloody good fun to go on this and stand in front of Jeffrey Archer and say he needed £2,000 to keep a prostitute quiet. Beggar number 2, the wackies. These are the hilarious chancers who I suspect don't want the money as much as the exposure. Most of the wackies are so annoying you want to tell them to f*** off before they've even opened their mouths.
Be bucking.
Fuck off. Oh, fuck off.
My name is Nicholas.
Fuck off. Oh, fuck off. Fuck you. Fuck off, come back, and then fuck off again. Type number 3, the weepies. People with an authentic sob story. Finally, type number 4, wizened cadavers. These are the old codgers whose job is to stagger on stage to be roundly patronised for several minutes by the panel and audience alike. One day ITV are going to put out a show that consists of nothing but old people walking onto a stage to be patronised by a panel for a full hour, and viewers at home will have a red button they can press to lean through the screen and pat them on their little heads like pets. Ooh, goo, goo, goo.
And she fits nicely into a pocket, doesn't she?
She does.
Anyway, it's tasteless viewing, but I suppose at least at the end of the day there's a few underprivileged kids and scout huts that are actually benefiting from it, which is more than you can say for most TV shows, especially this one. You're not getting a penny out of us, you f***ing hand-me-out begging bowl c***s.
On next week's show, Presenter School.
Hello, I'm Kelly and you're watching Culture Bench. Coming up on tonight's show, is there much point to anything? And if not, what's to stop me just grabbing the nearest pencil and driving it into my brain? Plus, Sandy Toksvig shares a ski lift with Dennis Taylor, but only one can survive. And meet the man who shot Canterbury by having sex with a duck. He says the moment he hammered a stiffed one through its hot yellow doors, God shook his mind by the hand. We'll be finding out if it's true. See you soon.